Today, we're going to do a deep clean and condition on my JKOTs in redwood. We're going to start by taking out the laces and the kilties. I think today I'm probably going to replace these laces, maybe with something from Generation Laces. See what I've got. Just pull it all the way out. These ones haven't been cleaned and conditioned in a while. They're ready. Okay, once you have the Kilties and the laces out, take your nylon bristle brush. You knock off all of the big particles and dirt and junk that's on the outside leather of your boots. Get down in the stitch down or welt area, depending on what you've got on your boots. Get all the stuff off. Make sure you get down in here. Get all the cracks, the crevices between the tongue and the uppers of the boots. A lot of stuff in there today. Just go to town for a few minutes. Knock off all the big bits. Then you do the other boot. These are dirty. Dirty, dirty boots. You're a dirty girl. Hello, Bruce. Have you come to help? Do not steal my boots. All right. Again, make sure you get down in the cracks and crevices. If you're wondering why I'm doing this now, my wife's not home. I got home from work a little early today, taking care of this and taking advantage now while I've got the kitchen sink free without her being here. Again, get down to the welt or stitch down areas. That's this area here, for those of you that don't know. And then once you're done with the leather, and you're not going to use this nylon brush again on the leather, go ahead and knock all the crud out of the tread. Mud, rocks, whatever gets stuck in there, try to get it all out. Sometimes you got to get a screwdriver or other instrument to get all that stuff out. Make sure you get it out before you go put the boots in your kitchen sink though. Sometimes you got to scrounge around and find a pointy, blunt object to get down and really get in there. Get all the crud out. Boy, that stuff's really caked in there today. I'm not going to make you watch this. Okay, once you're done getting all the crud out of the treads, very important to get all the rocks and stuff out too. Take it in the house, put it in the kitchen sink, make sure your wife's not home again, and clean the crap out of the boots. Okay, for the cleaning portion of this, all we're going to need is our dirty ass boots, our hands, Mighty Dawn Power Wash, nylon scrub brush for boots only, and since these are the Roughout leathers on the heel counter and the toe, I have the almighty wire brush to get in there and clean the dirt and to try to re-nap it when we're all done. Okay, so what we need is a little warm water to start with, so get the water warm. Probably should have done this before I pushed play or record, I suppose. But, you know, you guys can just hang out with me for a second because I'm cool, you're cool, and we can be cool together. Alright, so the boots are now warm, so I'm going to take just going to get the boots damp. Don't oversaturate anything. Try not to get any water inside the boots. Definitely don't oversaturate your Roughout. Okay. Take the Mighty Dawn Power Wash. I'm going to use a little more than normal on these because these things are disgusting, and I'm going to thoroughly condition them when we're done cleaning. Now unlike my last maintenance video, this is a full thorough clean and condition. Yes, this is a lot of soap. It's okay. Everything's going to be all right. Like I've said before, this stuff can clean crude oil off of baby ducks. It'll be fine on your leathers. Yes, seems like a lot. I'm using a lot. But there is a lot of junk in this leather. These might be dirty as these boots have ever been. They're supposed to be red. They're pretty much dark brown black. So we're going to fix that today. I'm going to let that eat for a few minutes and let that sit in there and scrub itself. Well, I shouldn't say scrub itself. Just let it sit. Let that stuff eat. Let it get in there and dissolve whatever it needs to get in there and dissolve. And I'll be back with you in a few moments. I like to start with the nylon brush. Get a little bit of warm water on the brush and just scrub to your heart's content. Scrub every part. Get down into the stitch down area or the welt, depending on your type of construction. These are a 360 stitch down. And look at how dirty that is. Honestly, guys, I probably should have done this outside, but I'm already here. Let's do it. I'm going to scrub these for a while. I'll come back with you. Down the heel counter area between the sole and the leather. Make sure you get the soles real good. These are supposed to be honey lugs. They're definitely not the color of honey lugs anymore. As your soap starts to dry out, just rinse out your brush. Get a little water in your brush and get back to it. Might need to do this a couple of times. I think these pair are going to need a couple rounds of cleaning. Boy, these are dirty, aren't they? Okay, we're going to rinse that off. See where we need to improve. Again, try not to get any water inside the boot. Try not to oversaturate the leather, although I'm going to have to get these pretty wet to get these clean today. These are pretty bad. Don't worry, I got a boot dryer. Alright, I'm going to do the other one, and then I'm going to come back and do this one again. Okay, so for round two, I'm going to use some saddle soap. I use the Fiebings saddle soap. Now, do not use this on the Roughout. Unless you're going for like a waxed Roughout look, then I suppose it might work, but you're just not supposed to use this stuff on Roughout at all. So what you do is you take a little bit of the warm water, just put a little bit in the lid. Got my too much. Take your little brush. This one's for saddle soap only. Little brush here. Just get a little bit of soap on there. A little more than that. And then lather it up in the tin. That's not enough. Lather it up. Well, you can't see what I'm doing. Oops. Just taking a little bit of the saddle soap, lathering it up in the tin here. Now, like I said, I'm only going to use this on the smooth leather, not the rough out. So, just the smooth parts. I am trying to strip all of the oils and conditioners out of this boot along with all of the dirt. I want these boots down to nothing so I can start over. I want to try to bring back that redwood color that has since disappeared. So I'm going to scrub all of the smooth leathers only with the saddle soap. This is too much saddle soap, just so you know. But I'm going to go home or go big today. Go big or go home. Whatever. You know the saying. Try to keep it off of the rough out if you can. Look at that. All that dirt's still coming out of there. And I've already scrubbed these twice. These were absolutely filthy. Okay, I'm going to wipe this down. Paper towel. Can just rinse it off. In fact, I'm going to rinse it as well. I don't know why I decided to use paper towels and rinsing, but that's what I'm doing. This way it feels like I'm actually getting stuff off. Rubbing it. See, look at all that. Still filthy. I'm sure some of that is some of the red dye. That I'm actually trying to bring back out. Repeat that on the other boot. While I've got the saddle soap out, before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and do the Kilties. I'm just going to use saddle soap on these. So, just going to dampen them up slightly, just barely. I'm going to get my saddle soap going again. A little more soap than that to get this lather going. All right, so I got a little bit of a lather going here now. I'm just going to scrub these Kilties down really good with saddle soap, and I'm going to condition these as well at the end, so I'll be fine. This is just way too much saddle soap. I overdid this. Sure. It'll be fine. All right. All that crud that comes off of these. Very dirty. All right. Now we'll set those off to the side to dry. Now, if I was going to reuse these laces, I would try to clean them up a little bit. I'll just show you how I would do that. I would just take a damp rag or paper towel, I would just funnel it through. Just funnel it through the wet part of the paper towel over and over again until it comes out clean. But since I'm not reusing these laces, these are done. I'm just showing you an example. And then what I would do, I would let them dry. Then I would take another paper towel and I would put a little bit of Obenaufs oil in the towel. And then I would just do the same thing. I would just run it through just like this a couple of times each lace. Just like that. So these are going in the trash because they are done. But that's how I would handle that. Okay, so, wow, I just broke my thing. So, after that mishap, I broke my tripod. I taped it back together, so we're good for now. Anyways, so for the next round, we are actually going to use the wire brush. I think it's a brass brush. It's brass brush. Brass brush. Say that 10 times fast. Anyways, I am going to put a little more soap on the Roughout, and then I'm going to scrub them with the brass brush. Brass brush. Jesus criminy. All right, here we go. This is going to do two things. One, it's going to get all the leftover crap that's down in the Roughout. I'm going to use this brush on the stitch down area too. Clean that out a little more. It's going to help to raise all the nap back up. Again, I'm going to have to do this once they're dry again, but this is one good step to going a long way to get that nap to raise back up, so you have Roughout again instead of just all laid down, which I find annoying when you have Roughout. So just good circular motion all the way around. If you know you have an area that's especially laid down, give it a few extra swipes. Get down in the stitch down area. You don't need to press hard with this brush. Just a little gentle pressure. You're not trying to dig a hole in the boot or the leather. Just trying to raise the nap. And clean out the welt or the stitch down area. Get down in there. A little bit more water. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments of this video. If you have any criticisms, you can also criticize me. I'm not going to take it personally. You think I'm doing something wrong. But unless you made this boot or this leather or the products I'm using, I'm going to take whatever you say for a grain of salt, because I've been doing this for a long time and I kind of know what I'm doing. I've yet to destroy a pair of boots by cleaning them. Again, in years that are really laid down or have heavy dirt, just give it a couple extra rounds. Okay, I think that one is good. So we're going to rinse that off, and I will repeat that on the second. Okay, once that's done and you're sufficiently sweaty while scrubbing, go ahead and dry your boots. Like I said, next step is to go ahead and dry them thoroughly, as much as you can. The towel, dry damp towel, not damp, it's got to be damp. A dry towel or a paper towel. Try to get as much water out of the Roughout as you can, because it's going to retain a little bit more than the smooth leather. I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do the other one. Make sure when you're doing this, you pay special attention to drying out the stitch areas and the welt areas. Get in there, go over it a couple extra times. Just get all of the moisture you can out before you put them on the boot dryer. And these look a hell of a lot better than they did. They're still not perfect, but man, what a difference. Wait till they dry and I condition them. All right. Here's the other one dry. Well, not dry. It's still damp. But the next thing I like to do, which actually what I should have done first, take these thin insoles that they come without. A lot of people run these, a lot of people don't. I find they just give a little bit of extra cushion, which I kind of like a little bit. I don't like a lot of cushion in my boots. But once you got those out there, I like to take a couple of paper towels and just shove them down in the boot. You want to shove them down in there just in case there's any standing or water in there. It's going to go on the boot dryer, but you want to get all of the actual water out that you can, if any got in there. Now these boots, they're pretty damn water resistant. So unless I spilled water down in the throat of the boot, which I'm sure I did, there shouldn't actually be any water in here. That's one of the good things about this particular boot, is it stays waterproof if you do the things to make them waterproof. The 360 stitch down definitely held its own when it came to waterproofness. And just do the same with the other boot. That paper towel came out very dry. Oh, well, this one's got some water in it. I can feel it. That's a good thing I'm doing this. All right. Just give it a good wipe down. Then I will throw these on the boot dryer overnight before heading to the next step. Now, this is my boot dryer setup. I use a Peet dryer. It does have a heat setting. I never turn it on. Don't use heat on your boots. It's not good for them. All right, so put these on here. All right, and I'm just going to set this for the max time. It's 240 minutes, and we'll keep turning it back on every time it turns off for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow I'll come back and I will condition. These are my other boots. Those are the JK forefronts in Bison, Prairie Bison. Those are testing. Those are my Nix Builder Pros. I've already done a review on those. Great boots. Those are my JK forefronts in Canyon Bison. And those are my Nix Wood Butchers, which I'm currently in testing for review. Good morning, guys. So it has been 24 hours since we cleaned our JK OTs in Redwood. Today we're going to go take them off of the boot dryer, and we're going to get to conditioning them and getting them ready to go back to work with some new laces. And let's get to it. I'll just show you a few things here real quick. Things we're going to need. I have a couple of rags. I have a tin of Obenaufs LP that has been from Nix, rebranded for Nix. I have a brand new bottle of Obenaufs leather oil because this one is almost empty, so we're going to reopen that one. I've got some Otter wax, boot wax, which I will be putting on the outside of the midsole and the stitch down areas. I have small cobbler's choice brush to get down in the stitch down area with the wax. I have my trusty brass wire brush to help with the nap on the Roughout. I've got my Nix branded horsehair brush that I use on all my oiled leathers. Yeah, I even marked on it there so I know which is which. I've got two flavors of Generation laces. I have their waxed brown and waxed olive drab. I've actually used these ones before. I don't know if I'll be using these ones or these ones. We'll figure that out when we get there. And obviously the Kilties, which are clean and dry. They also need to be conditioned. And from there, we'll get the other thing we need, which is the boots. Okay, so these have now been on the dryer overnight. It's been roughly 24 hours. The boot dryer is still running. I will turn it off. Or maybe, there we go. We'll take these off. And we will go take them over here to our station where we're going to do the... Okay, so after drying overnight, this is the colors that we're left with. Appears that I'm not going to get the redwood color to come back. It's just dark brown now. That's a bummer. I really liked that color. But we will brush the snap and we will condition these boots. Get them ready to go back to work. They are clean. They are dry. I don't feel any wet spots anymore. They're already fairly dry on the inside. Let's check the other one. Definitely dry. Definitely needs conditioned. Okay, without further ado, let's get to working on these bad boys. Now, the first thing I like to do is move the camera down. First thing I like to do when it comes to this job is just to re-rough up the nap after it's all been dried. So I'll just rough up the nap. There are many ways to do this. Some people go in one way and then the other, or cross pattern. Some people say to go in circles. I just kind of do all of them. Whatever gets the nap standing up the best is whatever it takes for you. Everybody's got their own methods and ways of doing things. Just because it's not what everybody else does doesn't mean it's wrong. Just whatever you can do to get the nap to stand up on its own again. And I take this brush to these a lot to keep this nap from coming, or from laying down and staying laid down. A lot of people don't care and they just let their nap lay down, and then it eventually just looks like regular leather. I like the nap, so I do a lot of wire brushing on my nap to keep it nappy. See, it already looks a lot better as far as the nap goes. And by doing this, it's gonna get all that nap to stand up, so when I oil it, it'll seep down inside better. And then when I'm done oiling it and it dries again, I'll re-nap it again. I'm only going to show you this on one boot, and then I'll do the other boot off camera, so you're not bored out of your mind sitting here watching me rub my boots with a wire brush. So I'm not sure I have enough entertaining commentary to keep you entertained while I do this particular job to these boots. So I'll finish this up and then I'll get back with you. So it's a good idea while you're doing this, just take a really good look at all aspects of the boot. I mean, you're right here, your eyes are here, just look. Look for cuts, look for abrasions, look for stitching that's coming undone, looking for frayed stitch ends. Best thing to do with frayed stitch ends is to take a lighter and just burn off the end. Keep it from unraveling and keep it from being so unsightly. Get down in here into the stitch down areas. Don't push hard, but just nap, get the nap standing back up and clean out anything that you might have missed. Because when you go re-waxing it, you don't really want stuff down in the wax to either prevent it from being absorbed or trapping stuff down in there. You don't want either one of those scenarios. So the best thing to do when you find a stitch that has come a little loose or unraveled, I don't know if you can see it very well, there's one right there. Just take a lighter. Just touch it and then tamp it down, and that will keep it from unraveling further. See if we got another one right here. And just tamp it down. Okay, here's another example. Got one right there, standing up. This is Technora fireproof fiber on or thread on these boots, so it's a little more difficult to get them to burn. That's a testament to the Technora thread, I'll tell you that much. Got another one down in there, right there. There we go. Easy as pie. Okay, I pretty much got most of that nap standing back up again, or at least most of it that will stand back up again. It's a lot better than it was. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, the color in these is never coming back unless I put some dye into it, or a colored polish, or a colored conditioner, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take the time to resurrect this particular pair of boots because this is probably their very last cleaning and conditioning before they go away or get rebuilt. If you want to know why I'm talking about that, and this, you're saying to yourself, that boot still looks like it's in pretty good shape. Yeah, it is. But if you want to know why, go watch the video that I posted a couple days ago on the JK Boots OT, the review that I did. Then you'll find out why. But, so, yeah, the nap doesn't look too bad. It's pretty much napped back up, which if you have this kind of boot, that's kind of what you want. We will move on to the next step, the conditioning. Okay, move the camera so you can get better angles and maybe some better light. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is we're going to start off with the oil, and we're going to do the Roughout first. So, grab my old bottle of Obenaufs leather oil. It's not very much in here, so we'll see what we can get out of this, and then we'll open the new bottle if there's not enough. I like to have my old handy dandy rag available to try to prevent spilling on the table. All right. Got a little dauber there, some oil. Kind of try to get the excess off a little bit there. All right, and then you just oil the Roughout. You don't want to get it down in the stitch down area because that will cause the glue to delaminate over time. Get as close as you can without getting it in there. Some will eventually just kind of ooze down in there anyways, but it won't get down actually into the stitch down if you keep it kind of farther away a little bit. I kind of like to get a little closer, but this dauber brush is just on its last legs here. Try to get down in the crease without touching the stitch area if I can. All right. Just a good, don't go overboard. It doesn't need to be soaked. You know what, I think we're going to switch to the new dauber and the new bottle because this is, okay, so what I like to do is I like to take the new bottle, or the old bottle, just pour the little bit that's left over from the old bottle into the new bottle so you don't waste it. There's not a lot left in there, but waste not, want not, you know? And this old brush is toast, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw that away with the old bottle. That's something I should have done before I forgot, before I started. Just give it a little shake. Make sure everything's mixed up in there. Oh, that old dauber brush just left all kinds of fuzzy crap all over my boots. Okay, now let's get back to it. New dauber brush. Oh, that's much better. Oh, hold on. I think that came out of the old plastic, the old bottle. Okay, get some of the excess off because you don't need that much. Okay. Oh, that's too much. Squeeze some out of the puff. Okay. And you just oil the rough out. This will darken this leather significantly, even more than it already is, which is unfortunate. I really wanted to bring the red back out in it, but like I said, these boots are kind of done with their working life anyways. But we're going to give them a good condition anyways. I'm still going to use them until I can't anymore. It's always good to protect what you're going to use. Remember, something I learned in the Marines, if you take care of your gear will take care of you. So, always take care of your gear. Oops, I got a little too much on the stitch down area. Try to avoid that if you can. Okay. Now we'll move on to the heel counter. Squeeze some more of this out of the dauber because it's just so much in there. We need to first dip it in there. Okay. Don't be afraid of this oil. If you put too much, it's okay. You can wipe off. It's going to absorb what it needs, and then you can wipe off the rest. I mean, you're not going to be able to wipe off very much out of the rough out, but get a good wipe down. It'll be all right. Just try not to go overboard with it. Over conditioning is one of the things that leads to early death of boot leather, along with not conditioning enough. So, in my use case, I only condition deeply and clean like this, maybe once every 6 months, maybe twice a year, unless conditions dictate otherwise. Like you saw how dirty these boots were and how much of that was soaked into the leather. I probably should have done this a couple of months ago instead of waiting this long. Okay, that's the first boot done with the oil. Now I will set that aside and do the other boot. I will not make you watch the second boot. Okay, while that soaks in a little bit, I will tell you about this. This is Obenaufs leather oil. This is my preferred, this and their LP are my preferred protectors and conditioners of my work leathers. I do not use this stuff on my heritage leathers or my heritage boots, but for work boots and work leathers, this stuff is awesome. It's got a natural preserving, it's got natural preserving oils, beeswax, and propolis. I don't even know what that word is, but it prevents water penetration, cracking, scuffing, abrasion, heat impingement, and caustic chemical intrusion. So this is great stuff. You can use it on new boots, new leathers, old leathers. It's great. It's what I use, and it's a great water repellent for sure. I use that, like I said, and the LP. This is just NYX branded, but it is Obenaufs LP. Okay, they've been sitting and soaking for a little while. What I'm looking for now are any spots that are lighter in color than the rest. That means that's a spot that's didn't get enough oil or has penetrated deeply and needs a little more, but I'm not seeing any on this one. You can see all the little white fuzzies and hair from that old dauber brush. Wish I wouldn't have used that. All right, let's take a look at this one. I accidentally got too much oil down in the stitch down area there. That might come back to bite me. You don't want to get that down in the stitch down if you can help it. I don't see any light spots here, so I don't need to reapply any oil to the rough out. So we did a good job there. The next step is to use the Obenaufs LP. This is like a petroleum jelly type waxy substance. I don't think there's any petroleum in there. There might be, but I'm not aware of that. But this I just apply with my hands. The hand warms up and melts it a little bit, helps it get down into the leather. So I will just take my smooth out leathers. I will get some of this on my fingers and I will just work it in to the leather. This is too much. Now you need to stay away from the eye holes in this whole area. You can put a very, very, very light coat through here, but you will cause these to pull out and these to pull and pull out if you condition this too much. So you want to stay away from this. Just a very super light coat. Maybe when you're done, just whatever's residual is left on your fingers, just lightly rub into that area. Speed hooks. I couldn't remember what they're called. Speed hooks. Sorry. Stay away from the speed hooks and the eye holes. It will cause the leather to loosen up and they will pop out and you'll have a bad day. You don't want that. Just work the leather in with your fingers. I like to use circular motions. I know it seems like I put a lot on here, but I guarantee most of this will soak right in because of how deeply I cleaned these things. Okay, I'll move to the backstay. Now when winter comes around, I will actually oil this as well and then LP it, just for some added moisture protection. But I don't do that during the summer. I just give it a little LP. All right, I'll go to the other side. Just work it in real good. The heat from your skin will help melt it a little bit. And also the friction will warm up the leather. It will help it to absorb easier. Okay, now what I do is I wipe my fingers off a little bit, and then whatever residual is on my fingers, I'll just put a little bit around the eye hooks. So you're not saturating that area at all, you're just getting a little tiny bit on the surface. So that should prevent the softening of the leather in that area. But at the same time, it still gives it just a little bit of conditioning. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just very, very little. And I don't even do this every time I clean. I only do this maybe every third time maybe. With putting anything at all in the eyelet area. Very, very light. Okay, then once I'm done, I just rub it in with my whole hand. Trying to help that penetrate deeper into the leather. My wife just says I like to fondle my boots when she sees me doing this. She's not wrong. Okay, now I will let this sit for a little while I do the other one, and I will check for spots like I did with the oil. I'll do the other boot and I'll get back with you. Now, after I've applied the LP, I like to let that sit for about an hour, maybe two. You can let it sit longer. You can let it sit overnight if you want. But I think the vast majority of what's going to be absorbed is going to happen within the first hour. So the next step, which I actually almost forgot about, is got to put a little bit of the LP on the tongue. Now, the tongues on these JK boots, they don't absorb very well. There's some kind of coating or something on the outsides of these. It just doesn't seem to absorb very well. So you don't need to put very much on the tongue, just a light coat. Again, avoid the inside of the eye holes. Just a super, super light coat with the residual that's on your fingers and your hands when you're done. Get in there, down in the crevices especially, so this doesn't crack. Like I said, this will not absorb very well into the tongue. So it will be shiny and look wet when you're done, even if you let it sit for quite a while. So just rub some in, and then when you're done, just rub the excess off. But don't forget to condition it, because after all, it is still leather, and it can crack and dry out, and that would give you a bad day. Like I said, you don't need very much on the tongue. I really don't know what or how they finish these tongue leathers, but like I said, it's like there's some kind of coating or something on it. Make sure you get here, down in the crevice and the cracks where these two pieces of leather connect. I'm going to overlap that with oil a little bit and you would have been fine. Okay, now we'll take the residual, just get the inside of the eyelets. Like I said, don't go very much. You do not want very much in the eyelet areas at all. Just a little residual of your fingertips from doing the other side, or doing the other part of the work. That's all you need. Just rub it in. Heat from your hand will help everything melt and absorb in easier. All right, do the other one. This one looks really, really dry. This leather on the tongues is like really thin pebbled leather, but I've never had a problem with it. It's tough. It stretches well over time. It's just thin and seems to have some kind of coating. I don't know if it's a plastic coating or if it's a thick dye or what they use, but it's definitely something on there. It does not absorb very well. All right, and with the residual, we'll put a little bit on the eyelets here. Maybe get a little down more of the crack right there. Okay. And I will let that dry for an hour or two. While that leather is drying, I can actually move on to the next step. I use Otter wax, boot wax, to do the midsole heel stack if I was doing a boot that had a heel stack, and the stitch down area. Now this provides a nice semi-hard coat on the on that area. It allows you to somewhat condition it without having conditioner soak down into the stitching and soles and having the glue delaminate. So this is what I use for that. If I can get it open today. There we go. I don't have a lot left. So I gotta remind myself to place an order for some more of that. What I like to do is just get a little on my brush here. And then I just work it in, down into stitches. Do you hear the national anthem over at the racetrack, buddy? You don't have to go overboard with this, but you kind of want to get a little bit down in the cracks there. Oops. I like to apply this stuff by hand, but it's a little difficult to get it down in the crack, so I put it in with the brush, and then I come back over it again with my fingertip. Get a little extra on the top there. Also, the heat helps it melt in a little bit better. Now I will usually put 2 or 3 good coats in this area. Really helps waterproofing. The 360 stitch down is already waterproof as it is, or fairly waterproof, but this helps. There's a seam right here. There's always a seam somewhere on a 360 stitch down. I always like to put a little bit extra right there on that crack and that seam to make sure no water seeps in between that seam or those 2 pieces of leather. Here's that seam again on the other side, right there. Right there. Just put a little more in there. Just kind of goop it in, right that spot. Okay, next step I take is I put a liberal amount of the wax all the way around the midsole and the layers of rubber sole and stitch down. I coat this all very, very well in wax, so it puts a little bit of a sealing surface right there, all the way around. Even up here where there's no midsole, you can still seal the edge of the 2 seams so water doesn't get down in there, and hopefully it won't lift the glue off. I will just repeat this process all the way around the boot. And then I will do the other one. But since this is a tedious, boring task, I won't continue to make you watch. I will push stop, and I will get back with you when it gets time for the next step. Now, about once a year, or when they're new, I will actually take and sand down this entire edge, especially the midsole. I do this the day I get boots before I ever take them outside. I sand down the edge all the way around, and then I take Resolene and I put 2 coats of Resolene all the way along the midsole and along the outer edge of the leather here and the soles, all the way around. I put one on, I let it dry, then I put another on and I let it dry. And once it's dry, I do the same thing with the Otter wax. I give it 3 good thick coats of Otter wax, and then I let it sit overnight, and then I give it another 3 coats of Otter wax. Now that coating will usually last about a year if you re-wax it every 6 months. And then the Resolene, I redo it about once a year. I'm not doing it on these boots because it's a waste of Resolene because these boots are done. Again, if you want to know why, watch my video I posted last week, the JK Boots OT review. All right, back to the boot. Okay, once I have sufficiently waxed everything, I like to take the brush again, and again, just brush over the stitch down seam area. Distribute all that wax evenly. If you get it on the boot, it's fine. You're just gonna have shiny spots, or if you get it on the Roughout, it's gonna lay the Roughout down, so you gotta go back over with the wire brush, but it's no big deal. Just a little added protection. Never hurt nobody. Just go around with the brush. Get it down and in there. Okay, and then I'll do the other one. Now, a lot of these procedures can be repeated with other products that you might use. Some people might use Snow Seal or other brands of waterproofing. You can pretty much do it the same way with other stuff too. But like I said, I prefer the Obenaufs. It's a personal preference. You don't have to use the products I use. Also, now, I almost did what I almost do every single time I do this. I almost forgot to do the Kilties. I always forget the damn Kilties. I don't know what the deal is. So, before I start putting this stuff away again, I'll just take a little bit of LP. Let's rub it into the Kilties. Don't forget your Kilties. They're important too. A lot of people think these are just throwaway, which they kind of are. They are sacrificial to keep your boots, your boot tongue alive and keep your laces from messing with your tongue. It also helps keep from getting stuff down in there into your boot to a certain extent, but take care of your Kilties as well. Just a little bit of LP and rub it in. Rub it, rub it, rub it in. Again, this is one of those points where my wife would look at me and say, "Stop fondling your leathers." And I'd just laugh. Because literally, that's what I'm doing. I'm fondling my leathers. All right, that should be good. Now I'll let that set. Oh, there's a little bit more on my finger. I'll rub that in too. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to fast forward a little bit here now. I've gotten several layers of the Otter wax on the outsole and the mid seam and the stitch down area. My boots have had sufficient time to soak in. You can see the tongue is still very shiny. This stuff does not soak into the tongues. I don't know what, like I said, it's coated with something. So at this point, I will take a rag and I will just wipe it all down. Wipe down, get off whatever excess oils are left that haven't been absorbed. actually almost think this probably needs another coat. The Roughout's fine. That does not need another coat. But this upper leather might need another coat. It's actually pretty dry in some spots, so yeah, I think I will give the uppers another coat. Look for the dry spots. The boot will tell you where it needs more conditioner and where it doesn't. The spots that are dry need more. The spots that are pooled up or still wet, they don't need that much. They don't need more oil. They need less. I will actually do that second layer off camera, so you guys don't have to worry about that. We'll move on to the next step. The leather uppers are something I can do later on my own after I've finished all the other steps. So I will give them another layer of the Obenaufs LP later when we're done after this. So you don't have to sit through it, and you know it was done anyway. The next step, it's always one of my favorite steps. Brushing the absolute dog snot out of the boots. Now you want to make sure that the Otter wax has a chance to dry before you do this. You don't really want wet wax just going everywhere. It looks better when it's dry, and it'll give you a nice sheen and a shine. So here we go. Just brush, brush, brush. This is the most important, one of the most important things you can do for a boot is just brushing it. It's a good idea every day when you get home from work to use a nylon brush to knock all the big stuff off, and then get your horsehair brush and just brush your boots. It's good for you, it's good for the leathers, it's good for the boots. Makes the boot look better, makes the boot last longer, it redistributes the oils more evenly throughout the leather. It's just a good step and a good maintenance tip. Now I also brush my Roughout, but then I go back over it with the gnat brush, the wire brush. Now my Otter wax isn't quite dry yet, so I'm going to stay away from the sole. But once that is dry, I will buff that as well, and it'll give me a nice sheen and a nice shine on my sole area. All right, I'm going to do this for another 20 minutes, and then I'll do it to the other boot for another 20 minutes, and then I'll get back. Now, as I was doing this, I just realized I should give you a few disclaimers. You're using these Obenaufs and oils and stuff like that for your work leathers, and then you're using this brush. Don't go use this brush on your heritage style boots. You're going to transfer that stuff to your boots, you're going to darken them, it's going to be a bad day. Do not do this particular cleaning routine. Do not do this cleaning routine on your heritage boots. This is a work leather, work boot cleaning and conditioning. This is not the same thing. So if you're looking for that kind of cleaning video, go find a heritage style boot cleaning and conditioning. This is not it. This is for work boots and work leathers only. Do not get them mixed up. They are not the same. They will turn ugly like work boots. These are work boots. These boots will never shine again with all the oils I use in these and waxes and the crap that I put them through. Now my Builder Pros are different because I've took steps to keep those shiny. These will not shine again. They may have a slight sheen at some point from the brushing, but there will always be a dull haze because I want these waterproof and for work only. So do not follow this routine for your good heritage boots that are not intended for work. Work only. Do not mix your brushes up. Work only. You want different brushes. Yeah, I know I'm saying the same thing over and over. I just want to get it through your head. You want different brushes and some different products. I wouldn't use Obenaufs oil or LP on your heritage leathers either. There are different products for that. I would go with some Saphir products or some Venetian leather cream or leather balm. There's also Bic 4. That's good for that. There's a lot of other good ones. Just this is not it. Okay, just want to get that out there as a disclaimer. So you don't go ruin a good pair of boots and then come blame the boot nerd. Work boots only. All right, thank you. Okay, once you've had sufficient brushing time and you've let this stuff sit up and set up and stuff for a while, come back with your brass brush and re-nap. Get all that nap standing back up. Now, at this point, you do not want to go back down into the seams because you've waxed that. You want to keep that wax where it's at. But for your rough out, just re-nap. Get that nap standing back up. Again. Just work it around. This is also going to help distribute that oil evenly as well, which is another plus. Plus, if you do this now, the nap won't settle down in with the oil. Like I said, unless you want the nap to lay down, some people do. Some people wax the rough out so it lays down. If you want that look, then don't do this. Just skip this brush and lay down the wax. I'm not going to show you how to do that. There are other videos to show you how to do that, and I'm not the guy for that. At least not yet, because I haven't felt the urge to lay down my nap. I already have waxed flush boots for that. These are for work, and I want the abrasion resistance so they look better longer, even though these do not look good anymore. I really wish the color would have come back. But like I said, without dyes or product that has a dye in it, I don't think this red is ever going to come back. Which is a bummer. I really liked the redwood color. That's no fault of JK's, by the way. That's all just my doing and my work and the products. And that's the other thing too. The Obenaufs, it will darken your leathers, just so you know. Most good waterproofing products for work boots are going to darken your leathers. Just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to continue napping, and I'm going to do the other boot and nap that, and then I'll come back. The boots are sufficiently re-napped. I don't think it's laying down anywhere, so I did a pretty good job there, at least on that one. All right, so, well, there's a spot right there. Can't see it in person, I can only see it in camera. There we go, got it. All right, so we will move on to the next step, which is relacing with the laces that I've chosen, which I haven't figured out yet. It's gonna be Generation Laces. Great company, you should check them out. They've got all your laces covered for you. So I don't know if I want to go with the green or the brown. I'm thinking the brown. All right, I'll be back. So once again, I forgot about my Kilties. So we're gonna brush these out for a little while. Don't forget to brush them out after you've conditioned them. I'm not going to go nearly as long as I went with my boots on these. They're just Kilties. All right, that's good enough. All right, let's get back to it. I said I was going to go with the brown. I'll save my olive drab for a different pair. All right. Now these are the waxed laces. I love Generation laces, or ones like it that have these cool eyelets at the end. It makes lacing up so much easier, and it's cool. All right. So I had a request. Someone asked me in another video to try to show a little closer view of how I do my lacing and my Kiltie. So I Let's see if I can get a little better shot here. All right. Okay, so I lace my kilties up so that they do not slide down in the boot. If you lace them normally, they like to tend to slide down here, and this lace gets a little loose. So what I do, I always come from the outside of the boot first. That's just my preference. I go through the bottom lace hole here. You see that very well, can you? Let's get a better view. Okay, so I come through the outside of the boot. I go through that very first lace hole, and then I cross into the opposite hole of the Kiltie. So first hole, across, and then I go into the second hole on the other side. And I try to get these even, or somewhat even. Okay, now with the other end of the lace, I come through the first hole on the other side, through that Kiltie hole, and up to the second hole on the other side. Again, that prevents the Kiltie from sliding down, which I hate. It keeps your Kiltie in place. There we go. And from that point, I just take the outside. I always start with the outside lace, and I go first. Then I come over with the inside lace. And that inside lace has now become the outside lace. So I'll take that outside lace, come across. Now we'll do the same thing with the other lace. I take the outside lace, the inside lace back over the top. And that inside lace now becomes the outside lace again. From here, I will go through the slot in the Kiltie, if it has a slot. Some Kilties don't have a slot. So again, outside lace first, under. And inside lace under, but make sure it stays over the top of the other lace as you go through. There you go. And then you just repeat that same pattern up the speed hooks. This is now the outside lace, so go around. Oh, wait, yeah, hold on. My big fingers are in the way. Okay. So now this is the outside lace. Up the next speed hook. Some people do all these all at once. I don't like to do that because you can get out of order with your lacing. And I'm OCD about my lacing. So there you go. Now this one is outside and over. Outside. And over. This is now outside and over. And there you go. That is how I do my lacing. For that one guy who asked for a better view. and a more in-depth view of how I do it. There you go, sir. Now your Kiltie will stay up, won't slide down. That doesn't mean it's not going to move left or right. I haven't figured out exactly how to stop that happening yet, but there you go. All right, and there you go, guys. A nice comprehensive cleaning, conditioning of my boots. Again, these are the JK OTs in redwood, cleaned, conditioned, ready to go back to work. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this comprehensive cleaning and conditioning video. It was kind of a long video and there was a lot of steps in it and some of them were probably boring. So this is probably one of my more boring videos. They can't all be bangers, what can I say? Sometimes you just got to get information out there and sometimes you just got to clean your boots. So I will actually brush the heck out of these again, probably for, I don't know, another 20 minutes each. And then I will put them on the boot dryer and I will let them sit over the weekend on the boot dryer. It's always good to let your boots rest after you have conditioned them. I would say for at least 24 hours, but I go longer. I always like to do them on a Friday and then let them sit over the weekend. That way everything sits in and settles and everything is good. And then I will brush them again before I put them on Monday morning. Again, this was for work boots, not for heritage style boots. I know I've said it a bunch of times. Maybe someday I will do a heritage style boot cleaning and conditioning, but my heritage style boots rarely get worn because I'm always working and I'm always in my work boots. So they really don't need cleaning or conditioning very often. They just get a boot brush and that seems to make them happy. So I think that will do it for today. You guys have a great day. Today is the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. I'm sure that this video will probably come out next week, the week after 4th of July, but I'm going to say it anyways. Happy 4th of July, and thanks for being here. Boot Nerd out.